Hey guys, good morning. This is Nate Patterson of the Gentleman League, and welcome to the first edition of GentSpeak. The Gentleman League is an organization that focuses on men who to help us all express freedom and power over money, relationships, and culture. So let's just get on straight to it. Like I said, I'm Nate Patterson, and this channel is going to be something that's a little bit more personal for men who go through different things on their route to becoming a better gentleman. And today, what we're going to discuss in this video is about relationships, and the title is How to Survive a Breakup. Honestly, most men who go through life have dealt with breakups and they were on one end or another. Managing a breakup isn't easy for everybody. And I think that men sometimes overlook the fact that we have different things that we have to go through in order to quote unquote get over a situation and move forward in life into relationships, whether that is a new relationship with someone else or just go on with life with your career, your family, your personal life. You always want to make sure that you put yourself first. And that's exactly the reason why I think that this video is going to be important. So I'm just going to go down to, a couple things that I, feel like are observations that I've had in previous relationships and dealt with in breakups. And over the time, I feel like there's a few things that will help any guy, actually any woman for that matter, be a little bit better at overcoming the situation that they may have gone through. Unfortunately, the relationship may have ended. But I think that a lot of times the perspective that people have on what a relationship means when it ends is different, and that's the reason why some people face more heartache than some others do. Some people feel like the end of a relationship is bad because something may have happened wrong. Oftentimes, there's the accusation of cheating or infidelity. There may be other issues that have arisen. Two people can just grow apart, but how you view it is definitely important. I think that it's healthy to view the end of a relationship as the completion of that relationship. When you finish a grade in school, you may feel like, oh, I'm going to miss the students that I was in class with. Oh, I'm going to miss that teacher. I'm going to miss this environment. You may be moving to another school, so you may even miss that school also. But there's one thing about it is that you know that you have to go on to the next step. There's a lot of things that you're learning that you did learn in the previous class, and there's things that you're going to continue to learn as you move forward. And that's a good way to look at your life in terms of a breakup. If you feel like every time you have a breakup that is bad and it's the end of the world and you can't go forward and there's a lot of emotion involved, then that's going to make the time it takes for you to heal that much longer. And it's just going to make you potentially somebody that during that rebound period, as they say, is hard to socialize and hard to actually realize that things happen for a reason. Every relationship isn't meant to last forever. If that was the case, then your puppy love from high school would still be the person that you're dating. And, if you look at some of the people you may have dated in high school and you see where they are now, you may be glad that that relationship ended. And obviously, hindsight is 2020. Looking back at something and saying, "Oh well," after you healed, that you were happy or glad. That's a great way to end the situation. But at the same time, it's important to have a great foresight that honestly, some relationships end because they are meant to. Take what you can from it, learn, and move forward. Um, Always give the other person their dignity. It's important to make sure that when you end your relationship, that you're not creating enemies. There's certain situations that may occur during a relationship that could create what I call silent enemies. People who don't wish the best for you, and they may even go the route of wishing negative upon you. And not only do you want to never be that person, you want to avoid that as much as possible. And it's not something that you can always have a surefire escape plan. It's not true that you always will be able to help a person not have any misgivings about you or feel bad about the relationship. But it's important to make sure that that person walks away with their dignity. If there's a situation where both parties knew that the relationship was starting to wind down, it was starting to die out, the energy wasn't the same, then maybe it's a good idea for you to not evaluate too much of the issues that you may have with that person. If both people feel that energy is starting to get, sour, then what's the point in trying to tell this person all the reasons from A to Z why you feel like this relationship should be over? Honestly, both of you may feel the same way and for different reasons, and it's not necessary for you to have a conversation with each other about what you hated and what the other person hated or what you just didn't like. It's better in all situations to build a person up. I mean, while you were in the relationship, you should have been, and both people typically focus on building each other up. So what's the reason why when the relationship is over, that deal is over? Two great people come together, two great people come apart, but it's not important for you to try to tear that person down and deny them of their right to feel good about themselves. You may know some things about that person, and it might hurt them more than a person off the street or a stranger or even someone that they're close to but not as close as you. If you mention certain things, it might really cut to the bone. So you want to make sure that you leave that person with their dignity. Don't try to dig too far into what's going on. Some people say that they want closure, but I can guarantee you that when a relationship ends, people don't really want closure. They really want an understanding. So if your reason for ending a relationship was because you were growing into a new life and you didn't feel confident that that person could grow there also, then there's really not as much of a reason for you to try to talk about how many times they didn't support you on your new endeavor or how many times that they made you feel like you weren't going to be successful. It's just a good idea for you to build that person up. Say, hey, I don't really feel like, I'm the right person for you. And honestly, if Einstein was here, he would say that the law of physics states that if you know I'm not the right person for you, that you're also not the right person for me. But there's no reason to accentuate that when in reality you really have a situation where you want to just move forward, and there's no reason to create a silent enemy. If they're gonna not like you, they're gonna have to deal with that on their own. But don't add fuel to the fire. If you know that it's over, just find a way to amicably end the situation. Don't dig too far. And do it before it's too late. Sometimes just waiting until the last moment in the relationship can hurt it even more. If you knew that you were already starting to think about other people, you know that you were already starting to feel some kind of way about the relationship without involving anyone else, and you were just kind of waiting for the right time, so to speak, just understand that that right time will never happen. It's never going to really come to a point where it's going to be an open line of communication where you can talk about a breakup. It's going to always hurt in the longer time period. Most people get attached for the longer period that they're together. And some people try to take ownership of that time frame that they've had and they've shared, which for a lot of reasons is like the stock that you had in your relationship. And the longer you've been together, sometimes it can hurt even more. So if you feel some kind of way, I don't want you to necessarily think you should do it prematurely. Just because you feel misgiving or feel bad about something doesn't mean that you should go and break up. But once you get to the point where you really feel like that's the best decision, do it sooner than later and give that person that much more time to recover and potentially end up becoming a friend or someone who can at least have a cordial conversation without trying to feel like that they don't want you to continue doing well with life. Um, in in terms of focusing on yourself, it's also important to make sure that you do this for you, and the best reason is to do something for you. You can always, end the relationship and talk about how much of an impact that relationship could have on the other person, but you always are going to have to deal with you and what you are going to come away with, what you learn. So focus on your greatness. If you were great at playing an instrument, try to see if you can find a better way to play that instrument. Take some lessons, improve on something. Give your mind a chance to become that great person that you always were all over again. And I say that because even though you're a great person right now, and you'll always be a great person, you want to make sure that you give yourself something that will recharge you from the inside out. Don't just try to find extroverted ways to get attention That's how some people call it a rebound. And that rebound period for some people might last for a long time. But typically it comes from putting that energy outward and still wanting someone to give you that energy back. Put that energy inward. If you have something that you really always wanted to do, a business that you wanted to start, a organization you wanted to found, something that you felt was deep within you that you may have not done or that you were working on but you didn't complete, finish it or start it. Push yourself towards some level of progress that you definitely already wanted. And that will help you remember the value that you have as a person. Sometimes you can go through a relationship, and whichever side that you're on, the lack of the companionship, the lack of the bond, and the conversation is over. So you might want to make sure that you don't really spend so much time worrying about. Focus on yourself. And the more that you can focus on yourself and do it with a focus on your greatness, the better you're going to come away from it. Your aura is not going to dim. You're going to have a great personality, and you may walk yourself into a new opportunity. It doesn't have to be a personal relationship, but you can walk yourself into a new business opportunity. You can walk yourself into a new friend, and you want to always build. You don't want to tear yourself down. So you want to make sure that you never get to a point where you're down in the dumps and feel like, you can't go on. Don't dwell on the past. You want to always feel good about your situation. And, sometimes dwelling on the past can give you some senses of depressed feelings and anxiety. There was something that I learned a long time ago, and it was a statement that resonated, and it still does today, is that depression cannot really exist in the mind of someone who is grateful. So you can't feel grateful and depressed at the same time. And if now thinking about the past is not giving you something to be grateful for, even though it should, you should always be grateful for, everything that has gotten you to this point today. But if today that's not how you're feeling, which is okay, you're feeling a little bit more down about your past, then think more about your future. Definitely give that time, but pick something that was good. Find something to be grateful for, whether it was something from your past, whether it's something for right now, and whether it's something that you want to do in the future. Be grateful in that, and you will not have that depression. What happens is so many people give light to the idea of being depressed, and they give it so much energy that that's the only thing that they feel. And you want to make sure that you don't give yourself those types of feelings, because you don't have to. You're going to be okay. You're going to live, you're going to prosper, and the longer you dwell on the past, the shorter your future gets, because you're putting more effort into your past while your future is coming up. So you never want to put yourself in a situation where you are beyond your own sense of balance, and you always want to be grateful. Things are going to happen, and it's going to happen to you one day that you're going to find someone who you want to talk to again, and you don't want to dwell on the past anymore. This is something that I started doing in a previous relationship that ended more or less in a bad way, and it helped me get past the situation when I was feeling upset, and it was very hard on me to kind of move forward. And one of my friends realized that I was not saying the other person's name. I didn't say my ex-girlfriend's name. And, even if someone asked me what the situation was about, I would, refer to the person. I would, say her or she, but I never said that person's actual name. When you say someone's name, it brings life to their face in your mind. It brings energy to that person's representation in your psyche. And overall, having a name is a great thing. Saying someone's name is a great thing. But when you're going through a relationship breakup and you want to get over it and you want to really digest those issues, sometimes it's good to avoid what might bring you discontent. Before, it may have been something happy to say that person's name because you were talking to them or you were talking about them, and that was all in great air. But once you are on the other side of the spectrum, and you feel like, okay, well, I'm not really digging this person anymore. They're not really digging me. The relationship is over. It might help you to avoid saying that person's name for a little while. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to work for everybody, and I'm not saying that that strategy is the end all be all, but I am saying that if you don't say that person's name, that sooner or later that memory is going to fade, and when that memory fades, you're going to find yourself feeling like you don't even remember what happened, and you might end up becoming cool again. You might lose that energy that was negative, and it might make you feel okay with talking to that person, because not speaking that person's name out aloud also can help you um, let that person become new again. And if that person can become new again, there may be a chance for the future if you guys had a good relationship. And even if it's not going to be something in the future, it's a good idea for you to make that let that person have their own life again, and don't try to let that person still be who they were in your mind, like, continuing to say their name. And the last thing I want to mention to you guys is give yourself and the other person some space. If you don't have some space, then it's not really going to work for a breakup. Whether or not you guys were living together, whether or not you guys saw each other all the time and you guys used to feel good about that, honestly, there needs to be some semblance of space between you two. If it's a physical space, then that's a good thing, because if you have a physical space, then not seeing that person gives them that freedom again. But even if it's not physical, if it's social, you guys share the same circle, then part of giving that person their dignity would be not trying to always pop up at the scene where they are, trying to stir discontent with their friends, trying to find out what they're up to, still being in their life. Give them their life back and try your best to have your own. If that person is doing that to you, then you may want to take the extra step to make sure that they are not able to get a part of your space. Take some time, realize that both people go through things different way. We're all different. We were born different times and different places, and it makes it so that the way that we respond to the same exact thing can differ, and you don't want to grow forward always feeling like that other person is always trying to be a part of your life and they're not giving you space. So think about those things, and if you guys feel any, you know, um, different about what I said, if you feel like what I said was on point, let me know. You can comment, look below the link, and you'll see a link to my website, and then you'll also see a place where you can comment. Comment below, let me know what you think. Give me some stories about things that you have done in a breakup that have helped you move forward, or things that another person has done to help them move forward. Because all in all, we all want to be great and we all want to continue our greatness. So there's no reason to dwell on the past. And if you have a relationship that ended, it's always good to look at the great instead of the bad and see what there is for you to do so that you can go forward. Thanks, guys, and that's the first edition of GentSpeak. I hope you liked it, but we'll be back, and we'll continue this series.